Hello everybody, this is Chaos with Chaos Esports Productions, bringing you another Bronze Master League Series game. Today we're going to be taking a look at another PvT, and we're going to be focusing on talking a little bit about overextending. I know I tend to have a lot of issues with this because I get a little overzealous in certain parts of the game, and it's just like, I'm not sure whether or not I should attack, should I sit back and defend, and a lot of times I go ahead and go for it, and it turns around and bites me in the behind. So yes, we're going to be talking a little bit about that. So I do want to quickly apologize for last week. I didn't have many, actually, I didn't have any new Bronze Masters League or Back to the Basics series games, mainly as a function of my voice sounded absolutely awful. On Tuesday I sounded like a girl, and then I believe is on Wednesday and Thursday I sounded like my voice was 2-3 octaves lower than it currently is. So I figured go ahead, rest the voice for a little longer, have random probes run around, and then get out more videos starting the following week. So hope you guys have all been enjoying the Clan War rehashes. I know I had a whole lot of fun casting them. Feel free to go ahead and check me out on Twitch to find those Clan Wars whenever they go live. I'll leave that link down in the description as usual. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and start talking about this game. So, PvT, we're going to be going for a very early robotics facility, and actually with this map, Alterzim Stronghold, you get this really cool free expansion, fully mineraled up and everything. Pretty much same thing as you would for a natural expansion, except for it's nice and free in your base. You don't have to really worry about defending it too terribly early. So gonna be scouting counterclockwise as I usually do. I'm basically gonna just be getting up the normal 9 pylon, 13 gateway, followed by a 14 assimilator, and then the cybernetics core as soon as the gateway is done. So this game was very interesting. We're going to go ahead and speed it up just a little bit so we can get into the action and talk a little bit more about what goes on in this game. So this game I went for my usual really quick Colossus. Colossus I find in this matchup tends to be my favored unit of choice, just because Storms are a little bit more, you got very micro-intensive, and especially for the Bronze Masters League series, I want to focus it on things that people are going to have the APM to actually, execute themselves. So, going to be getting out Zealot and a Stalker quick, just because we see the random Reaper harass that does get shut down. I don't think he might have killed... Okay, he killed a couple probes, so overall I'd say that Reaper was worth his time. Yeah, and then going to be getting up at my expansion. Now, I did get a scout off on his natural, so I'm like, oh crap, I'm like super behind as far as my natural goes, and I'm kind of feeling like, okay, maybe he's going to be doing something funky real early, so I go ahead and pump out that Immortal as quickly as possible. And gonna do a little bit of a poke out here early game just to get a feel for where my opponent is and try and understand where I'm at in the games. Excuse me. So, I'm gonna be moving out here with kind of my small little task force. We got I thought I had an observer coming out. Yeah, observers coming out to give us some high ground vision, and then I believe I also leave my mothership core back at home just in case we have any random drops come in and have to deal with, throw that down the photon overcharge to deal with anything. So observer's going to come in here, and what I like to do is I kind of like to poke at the supply depots. A lot of people don't see that as too big of an issue, but when you kill off 1 or 2 supply depots and potentially hurt his supply count, you have a tendency to put him in a really awkward position. So he's going to actually come in here and snipe the observer, which is nice for him. The Immortal's going to get focused down, and actually I do lose this engagement, but I'm able to clean it up with a handful of zealots that get warped in at the very last second. So warping a couple zealots, trying to get some damage done, take out two of the marines, and basically just going to warp in a couple more stalkers and try to keep the aggression on, because I don't feel too bad. We traded armies, which is probably not ideal, but when I do come in and see kind of what he still has, I'm like, he's pretty marauder heavy, need to back off and go home. So now we're going to be getting up our robotics bay and start our Colossus production as I normally would. That probably should have come down a little bit earlier, so it's a little bit late. And he's actually going to scout that with his scan, so he does know that I am going Colossus, so he will probably start his Viking production here very, very shortly, once he gets out a handful more medevacs. So I'm going to get up a handful more gateways because I know I'm pretty behind as far as units counts. I got a pretty good idea of how big his army is by him killing off the pylon here. So he's going to go ahead and go for a small little drop here into my natural, and I believe this actually does a fair amount of damage. I warp in a handful of units just to do a small little run by. So he's going to go ahead and throw all his units down. Colossus is out. I'm going to do a little bit of force fielding action, try to get as many units killed as possible, and he's actually going to get out of there pretty unscathed, I'd say. You know, even though he didn't trade too terribly efficiently, he still killed a lot of probes. You know, looking at the units lost, you can see, and I've only got 8 probes, 13 probes there. So I'm really, really low as far as resources go. So I'm kind of like, well, I need to do a little bit of damage. I've got 2 Colossus out, and extended thermal lance is almost done. So I'm kind of like, okay, need to do something. So come in here, try to get some damage done. One stalker will go down really, really quickly, and I'm actually able to go ahead and kill off this third. So, you know, this is kind of where we start into, okay, how are we doing? Are we overextending? Are we not overextending? I'd say overall this army is pretty strong, but that is on the assumption that he doesn't have too terribly many Vikings out. We see that there are already 6 out on the way and 2 more in production, so he's got a fair amount of Vikings, so we got to be very, very cautious on how many shots gets off. So I put out a Hallucinated Phoenix to give me some vision, and then I go ahead and throw down a couple force fields to force him to not retreat. And now, this is where I really should have backed off. Even though I really haven't, I'd say, killed a whole lot of his army, I know, you know, if you look at my vision, I can see all these Vikings, and I'm like, I really, really need to, probably should have backed off here. So, so he comes in with the Vikings. The Vikings do a significant amount of damage. He actually, okay, so I have a halfway decent force fields. What I should have done is, rather than waste these 2 force fields up here, I should have just done a single force field here to avoid him from trailing me, and then just backed off completely. What that would have allowed is me to focus on attacking the Vikings rather than his army. And now, since he's obviously significantly marauder heavy, I'm just kind of running away trying to fend for my life. I'm going to go ahead and start to get up some zealots, and still chrono bruised out my probes because, you know, I'm still really behind as far as probe production goes. So he's going to clean up some of my pylons, and basically at this point I'm significantly on the back foot. As you can see, I've got a 50 supply deficit, and I'm just pretty much hurting. Also, something that might have been nice is I probably... you know, I'm sitting here focusing on getting my probes out, and that is kind of where my main focus is, just because that is going to basically spiral down to a death spiral that is StarCraft 2 if I do not get that up. So Templar Archives is going to be going down because, you know, that's kind of the progression that I usually go into. Once the Colossus production has halted, I usually switch over to Templars and Archons. That way I have kind of that diversity in case my opponent does go for continued Viking production. Vikings really aren't going to do anything, and the Archons pretty much capitalize against the Vikings. So Zealot run by to try and distract him. And yeah, at this point, the the game is not looking very good. We're going to go ahead and go to +2. I'm going to try and move out here, but I'm like, yeah, I really shouldn't. He just scanned. So I try to take an engagement here, get a fair amount of units killed with that. Obviously, the Vikings really aren't doing anything. I probably should not have pushed this. While he does have a significant number of Marauders, and the Zealots do some pretty good damage, once those Zealots are cleaned up, my army's more or less dead. Cancel the third base because there's no way that that's getting taken. And then I try to warp in some more Zealots, but it's definitely not looking good for me at this point. I'm like, okay, how do I take the engagement? Need to go in, try to get some damage done. But with the amount of medevacs that he has, and basically the lack of resources that I have, it's kind of hard for me to get in there and really do too much. He's actually I'm gonna throw down the photon overcharge, trying to hold off just a little bit longer. But I think overall this more or less gets cleaned up, and I think this is kind of where the point where I hit. I'm just like, yeah, this isn't not really gonna go anywhere. I'm pretty much not gonna win this. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the commentary. Let me know if you've experienced any of these type of issues. Overextending can kind of be a really big problem for a lot of people. And, you know, this is just one example of, you know, me trying to understand whether or not the choices that I made were the right ones. I'd say, you know, obviously there were a couple spots over here where it was like, yeah, probably could have done that a little bit differently, and it probably would have been in a lot better situation. So feel free to go ahead and leave your comments down in the comment section below. Be more than happy to respond to those. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. Feel free to go ahead, if this is the first time you've visited me here at Chaos Esports Productions, feel free to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down in the lower left. Also, if you enjoyed, go ahead and hit that like button, and feel free to share with your Facebook and Twitter friends. Help them out improve their StarCraft 2 Protoss. So, I think there was only one other comment that I wanted to make. So I've been reading a lot of forums and chat about the severity of the ladder hits that a lot of people have had, and it actually seems like the way Blizzard did the revision to the ladder and how you get ranked, a lot of people who were in Platinum and Gold actually all got demoted down to Silver. So it seems like there's a lot of kind of upper echelon players that are a little bit lower than they should have been. So not too surprised to have at least one loss here so far in the Bronze to Masters League series here and the Silver League. So, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next game.